What's good, everybody? We're back talking fantasy football week 2, starting off with the Thursday night game, Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins. What can I say? I didn't think we were going to blow them out, but I damn sure will take it. I know a lot of Josh Allen owners are not happy this week. He didn't have to have the normal Josh Allen game that he usually does. Our defense really stepped up. I don't know if it's because Miami made their mistakes, but it was the James Cook show, basically. He had 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 receiving. Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir were the only 2 that I thought were worth starting. And they got kind of involved in this game a little bit more. Shakir had 5 catches for 54 yards and Kincaid had 4 catches for 33. So not much to talk about in this game. Keep starting Josh Cook, obviously. At the tight end position, it was still a bit shaky this week. I would keep starting Kincaid and keep an eye on Shakir. He could be worth a flex in your for your team. On to Miami. Unfortunately, that Tua got hurt. Hope he's okay. I know he's going to be out for at least a month. I don't know if he's going to come back at all this year. He's got to reevaluate his situation. So hopefully you guys have a backup QB on your bench. If not, I would definitely look to trade somebody. Usually everybody drafts 2 quarterbacks, sometimes even 3, to try and block you from, knowing that there's going to be injuries throughout the year. Now they're probably thinking, you know what, he's out. Somebody's going to try and offer me a trade. I would definitely try to trade instead of going to the waiver wire to salvage your season. The only player for Miami that was worth starting this week was A-Chain. Tyreek, Waddle, they just didn't, everybody had a bad game. Waddle, he did all right. He had 4 catches for 41 yards, but not normally the normal numbers that they put up for the week. Jonnu Smith did have 6 for 53, but didn't really mean much because it was more like garbage time. Keep an eye on Hill and Waddle because I don't know what the chemistry between them and Skylar Thompson is going to be, or I don't know if they're going to put in Tyler Huntley in the coming weeks. So there's not really much else to talk about for that game, so just keep an eye on it. Moving on to the Saints and Cowboys. Saints killed it again. Derek Carr had a decent day, 243 yards for 2 touchdowns, but it was the Alvin Kamara show. He had 115 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns and another 65 yards receiving for 1 touchdown. Crazy day. Rashid Shaheed had another great game. He is worth starting on every team in every league, in my opinion. He caught 4 passes for 96 yards and a touchdown. Chris Olave had a pretty good game, 4 for 81, didn't score. I still think he's worth starting, but definitely those 3. Olave, Kamara, and Shaheed need to be started every single week. On to the Cowboys. Obviously not that good of a day. However, CeeDee Lamb did have a good day. He had 4 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. Dak Prescott did have almost 300 yards passing, 1 touchdown, but he had 2 interceptions. And as far as their running backs go, Dowdle, 30 yards, Zeke, 16. They just didn't perform well. I think Schoonmaker did pretty good filling in for Ferguson. He did have 4 catches for 43 yards. So keep an eye on him. He might be worth starting every week until Ferguson comes back. But not much to talk about for the Cowboys other than CeeDee Lamb. Next up is the Raiders and Ravens. I can't believe the Ravens lost. The Raiders just held in there all game. I know Devontae Adams had a massive game, 9 catches for 110 yards and 1 touchdown. Brock Bowers also did well, 9 catches for 98 yards. And I don't know what's going on with Zamir White. I really thought he was going to just take over where Josh Jacobs left off. Hasn't really done much. 9 carries for 24 yards. 3 catches for 14 yards. The production is just not there this early in the season. So he might not be worth starting right now, but definitely don't get rid of him. Keep him on your bench. Minshew, 276 yards, a touchdown, an interception. He did enough to get it done, but not worth starting in my opinion. Just go with Devontae Adams. Brock Bowers seems to be getting more touches, and that's about it. Madison had an off day. Last week he had a pretty good game, but that's it for the Raiders. For the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, he did have 247 yards, a TD, and an interception, 45 yards rushing. Derrick Henry had a really good day, though. He had 84 yards rushing and a touchdown. Also had one catch for 12 yards, so that's pretty good in my league. It's about 16 points, more or less. Zay Flowers also had a really nice day. 91 yards off 7 catches and a touchdown. You got to start him every week. Looks like Mark Andrews got a little bit more involved this week. 4 catches for 51 yards. And Isaiah Likely definitely took a step back from his week 1 performance. So that's just the way it goes. It's crazy how that works. I don't know why they wouldn't get him more involved unless maybe the Raiders were double teaming him and doing a little more one-on-ones. I'm not too sure. But definitely keep him on your bench. Don't get rid of him. Start Lamar. Keep starting Lamar because the potential for him to run and pass is just, he's top of the league as far as fantasy football goes. Keep starting Derrick Henry. Justice Hill also took a step back. I said he was one of my top waiver pickups for the week based off his performance last week against the Chiefs. But I guess they didn't want to get him involved this week. 4 rushes for 22 yards and only 2 catches for 10 yards. So disappointing if you picked up Justice Hill and started him. But you got to keep starting Lamar, Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers. Keep an eye. I guess you would keep starting Mark Andrews as well, but keep an eye on him. I don't know if they're going to have 1 week him, 1 week Likely, back and forth, but just keep an eye on them. Moving on to the Giants and Commanders. Not a very good game. It was pretty ugly for both teams. I finally started Jaden Daniels, and he didn't do too well, but I am going to keep starting him because I do like the potential that he did rush 10 times for 44 yards. No pass touchdowns. Did have 226 yards and only 6 incompletions. So he's doing pretty good. He's probably not winning them the games, but I don't think he's losing them the games. He didn't have no interceptions. Well, he did get sacked 5 times, but I just think he's on the right path to do good things. Brian Robinson, massive day. 133 yards rushing, but he didn't have any touchdowns. So all they scored was 7 field goals, even though it was enough to get it done. As far as fantasy-wise goes, none of these players were really worth starting except for Brian Robinson. Eckler did have 38 yards rushing. He did have 47 yards receiving, which is always nice to see from Eckler because he's never really been that good of a runner. He's always been more involved in the passing game. So keep an eye on Eckler. If you need him as a backup, if you're hurting for injuries, or maybe you need him as a flex spot, he might be worth it still. Zach Ertz, 4 for 62. Pretty good for the tight end spot. Tight ends haven't really lived up to their name so far this year. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but a lot of people are disappointed. I know Kelsey, Laporta, Andrews, owners, Kittle. I think Kittle scored this week. But anyway, I'll get to that game in a little bit. But you're going to have to try and find your tight end somewhere else. I know Hunter Henry did well. I know Mike Gesicki had a pretty good game for Cincinnati. Just keep your eyes peeled for whoever's getting more, I guess you would say, volume, maybe more targets. Are you seeing them playing more snaps? Are they getting, do they have the potential to do good in their system? I definitely have to I'm going to have to do my homework and look for a tight end this week because Evan Ingram hurt his damn hamstring before in warm-ups. And I decided to go with the Browns' backup tight end, and that didn't do anything for me. So I'm stuck. I'm stuck in that position. Terry McLaurin, they need to get him more involved. Another mediocre day. 6 catches for only 22 yards. I think Jaden Daniels is worth starting if you don't have a better option at quarterback. Brian Robinson, definitely worth starting. And Eckler could be worth starting in your flex position if you're hurting there. So keep an eye on Zach Ertz too. The Giants, Daniel Jones, I guess you could say he did better than week 1, but still 178 yards, 2 touchdowns. Devin Singletary had a nice day, though. He had 95 yards rushing and a TD. And Malik Neighbors killed it. 10 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown. Those are the 2 guys I would continue starting. Everyone else, not worth starting. Wan'Dale Robinson, I would keep him on your bench if you have him. But not too much to talk about from the Giants again. On to the Chargers and Panthers. Panthers, another bad day. Nobody on their team is worth starting at this point. Bryce Young just got benched. Chuba Hubbard only had 64 yards rushing. Everybody else, receiving wise, pretty much 2, 3, and 4 catches each for anywhere from 5 yards to 23 yards was the most that one of their receivers got. And that was Tommy Tremble, their tight end. So they're just, nobody on their team is worth starting right now. As far as the Chargers go, though, Justin Herbert had an average day, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have an interception. But he didn't have to do much, kind of like Josh Allen this week. Their running game was insane. J.K. Dobbins had 131 yards rushing for a touchdown, and Gus Edwards had 59 yards off of 18 carries. So total, they had about 220 yards rushing, which is just crazy good. Quentin Johnston stepped it up this week. He had 50 yards for 2 touchdowns. Keep an eye on him. I definitely think he's worth a bench stash. If you need him in the flex, start him in the flex. Josh Palmer has been disappointing. I thought he was going to take over as the number 1 receiver on that team, but he hasn't done much to start the season. Only 2 catches for 19 yards again this week. So Ladd McConkey took a step back. I know he scored last week. Only 2 catches for 26 yards this week. But keep an eye on Palmer. I guess maybe you could start Johnston. I know we kind of just go week by week. Maybe we jumped the gun a little too early. But keep starting Herbert if you have him. He has the potential to get it done. J.K. Dobbins looks like he took over that number 1 spot, but Gus Edwards is definitely worth a bench stash. He still did get 18 rushes, so the volume is there for him. But as far as starters go, Herbert, Dobbins, Johnson, maybe Edwards if you need somebody in your flex spot. Moving on to the Colts and Packers, such a disappointing day for the Colts. I really thought that their defense was going to give Anthony Richardson more opportunities. But Green Bay defense stepped up. They caused 3 interceptions on Anthony. He just had a bad day. Only 200 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Only went 50% on his completions. I mean, he did have 4 carries for 37 yards. That is always encouraging because dual threat quarterbacks are nice to have on your fantasy team. But I'm not too sure what's going on with the Colts. I think he needs to... He needs to figure it out. The offensive coordinator, I don't know. They need to give him easier throws, or I'm not too sure what's going on in that department. But Jonathan Taylor still did his thing. He had 12 carries for 103 yards. Also had 2 catches for 32 yards, which was good to see. He's a must start every week. Alec Pierce, another good game. 5 for 56 and a touchdown. I think that was their only touchdown they scored. They had 3 points like the whole game until the last, 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, something like that. But I would still start Anthony Richardson because he does have the potential to get you those rushing yards. Jonathan Taylor's a must start. Alec Pierce is a must start. And I don't know what's going on with Pittman, but he didn't get involved this week. So moving on to the Packers, Malik Willis, not a bad game. 12 for 14, 122 yards, and 1 touchdown. 0 interceptions. That's the key. They didn't really need him to pass the ball when Josh Jacobs was out here killing it. 32 carries on for 151 yards. He didn't score, but what a massive game. I think they're going to rely on the running game until Jordan Love comes back, as they should. But that also gives Malik Willis another week to get situated and get the playbook down more, get more confidence. Other than that, the receivers, like I said, Malik Willis had a average day, so the receivers didn't do too well. Romeo Doubs was the best, 3 for 62. Dontavion Wicks did have a touchdown, 3 for 26. Other than that, that was it for the whole team. Tight ends, the receivers, just a slow day for them, but they got the win, so I know they're happy. On to the Niners and Vikings. What a game for the Vikings. They pulled out the win. I really thought the Niners were going to take it, but didn't happen. Brock Purdy had 319 yards passing, 1 touchdown. He did get sacked 6 times and had an interception. So that Vikings defense was really putting pressure on him. Jordan Mason, he's a must start every week. That running game is still really, really good, even without McCaffrey in. He had 100 yards for a touchdown. Only had 1 catch for 4 yards, but their receivers did pretty good. I know Debo had a really good game, 8 catches for 110 yards. And George Kittle, 7 for 76, and he did score that touchdown. I know Debo's hurt. He's going to be out for at least a week, maybe 2. I don't know if they're going to consider putting him on injury reserve, but with him out, I would definitely start Jawan Jennings. He is good enough to take over that role. With him and Ayuk, I still think they'll be okay. Kittle's still there, Mason. They have good depth, so just keep starting every single one of them. I would still start Purdy. I would if you don't have a better option at quarterback. I would definitely start Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, and George Kittle, as well as Mason. So all of them are must starts in my opinion. So moving on to the Vikings. Sam Darnold did it again. I mean, yeah, he had that 1 interception, but 2 touchdowns for 268 yards. I don't think he's worth starting because he did have that 1 lucky play, a 97-yard or whatever it was to Justin Jefferson. But he got it done, and that's all that matters. But keep an eye on Ty Chandler. He took over a little bit for Aaron Jones at the running position. He got 10 carries for 82 yards, which is really good. Aaron Jones only got 9 carries for 32 yards. But Aaron Jones did catch 5 catches for 36 yards. So keep an eye on that situation. I don't think Aaron Jones' job is, I don't think it's in, what's the word I'm looking for? It's in jeopardy. There we go. Jesus. Justin Jefferson, hopefully he's not out this week with that hamstring injury. I saw the replay on that play, and I think Fred Warner hit him on, it wasn't on purpose, but he got him good on the hamstring. So keep an eye on him. And I thought this kid, what's his name? Jalen Nailor, I thought he did pretty well. He did score that touchdown. He only 3 catches, but it was 54 yards. So keep an eye on him, especially if Jordan Addison is still out, and if Jefferson is out, then he's really gonna have to step up. And I think he would definitely be worth a flex start definitely in the upcoming weeks. I just think obviously Jefferson is worth starting, Aaron Jones is worth starting, but keep an eye on that running back position. Moving on to the Browns and Jags. Kind of a boring game. Deshaun Watson, he did score a touchdown. Only had 186 yards. Jerome Ford, he's on my team. I was a little disappointed, or I was a lot disappointed. Deontay Foreman, 14 carries to Jerome Ford's 7. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if he got hurt. I don't know if they were just riding the hot hand. I'm a little concerned. I need Chubb to get back ASAP. I know he still has, 2 or 3 more weeks. Jerry Jeudy had a pretty good game, 5 for 73, and I couldn't think of the third wide receiver last time, but Elijah Moore was the name, was the third one that I was trying to think of. And he is a nice third wide receiver to have on that team, alongside with Amari Cooper and Jeudy. But he had 6 catches for 44 yards. Cooper had an off day, only 3 for 11, but I would continue starting Cooper and Jeudy. Keep an eye on Elijah Moore. As long as he keeps getting targets, he might be worth a flex. Deshaun Watson, I have him and Jaden Daniels on my team. It's so tough because I know Watson has the potential to get me rushing yards, but Jaden Daniels is playing the Bengals next week, and I know the Bengals have a good defense, so I'm not too sure. I think I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. They are playing the Giants. I just think he's going to get more opportunities, so we'll see what happens. I'll let you know. But definitely keep an eye on that running back position. Foreman might take over the starting job until Chubb comes back. The tight end position, non-existent right now, not worth starting, so just keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the running back spot, and Deshaun Watson could be worth starting. He's going to have to start for me this week, but if you guys got a better quarterback, then keep him on your bench. As far as the Jaguars go, I don't know what's going on with Trevor Lawrence. Didn't even complete 50% of his attempts this week. Only had 220 yards, no touchdowns, got sacked 4 times. He did have 2 runs for 45 yards, so he does have that potential to also be a dual threat quarterback. But I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if it's because his receivers, he's not acclimated with them yet. But Brian Thomas, 2 for 94, did have that deep bomb. I think he needs to get more targets, more to have the opportunity to get more catches. But Gabe Davis, 3 for 43, didn't get it done. This other kid, Strange, 3 for 65. I mean, they're just mediocre. And Christian Kirk, what is going on with him? I thought he was going to have the potential to be their number 1 wide receiver, and he just not getting it done. So stay away from the Jaguars, except for ETN. He's still getting, he's still their starter. He did only get 52 yards rushing, but he did have a touchdown. 3 catches for 6 yards. It's just, he's all they got right now. So keep starting ETN. On to the Seahawks and Patriots. I thought it was a pretty good game. I know it went into overtime, but just watching them go back and forth, it was pretty exciting to see. Geno Smith had a pretty damn good day. 327 yards passing for 1 touchdown. No interceptions. I mean, is he worth starting? He might be. Keep an eye on him. Charbonnet took over for Kenneth Walker this week. Didn't do too good rushing the ball, only 38 yards. Did have a touchdown, though. 5 catches for 31 yards. I mean, pretty good day as far as fantasy goes. That's over 15 points. So that's pretty good, considering that he's your backup running back. DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith-Njigba, they both had super days. Metcalf had 10 catches for 129 and a touchdown. Smith-Njigba had 12 catches for, 117 yards. I mean, both really, really good days. Definitely keep an eye on, definitely start Metcalf. Keep an eye, I would start Smith-Njigba every week too, but Lockett seems to be up and down. Keep an eye on him. Not sure what's going on in that situation, but he only had 2 for 15 this week. Myers, pretty good day kicking the ball, 3 field goals, so keep an eye on that. Moving on to the Patriots, Jacoby Brissett, mediocre day, 149 yards for a touchdown. Antonio Gibson had a nice day, 11 carries for 96 yards, 1 catch for 7. But Ramondre Stevenson is the guy. He is a must start every week. He's really good. He had 21 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. Only 2 catches for 9 yards, but keep an eye on Hunter Henry. He did have a nice game this week. He went 8 for 109. Hunter Henry is somebody that I'm going to be looking to get off the waivers this week, just because my tight ends are just not good right now. Evan Ingram's hurt, and I decided to go with the Browns backup Atkins, and that didn't work out for me. So I'm gonna have to figure something out. Maybe get Zach Ertz, Hunter Henry, Jaceki. Those are all good guys that are that you can get off the waiver this week that look like they have potential. So keep an eye on them. Stevenson again is the only one we're starting on the Patriots. Moving on to the Jets and Titans. I really wish the Titans would have pulled that one out, but the Jets won it at the end. Aaron Rodgers had an all-right day, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Breece Hall had a really good day. He went 14 for 62, but he had 7 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown. So that's a really good day in fantasy for him. Garrett Wilson still, on the average range, both weeks. 4 catches for 57 yards this week. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they need to get him a little bit more involved. I'm not too sure what his red zone targets are the first 2 weeks, but they're going to have to find a way to get him in the end zone. I mean, Mike Williams only caught 1 pass. Lazard really took a step back this week. So, in my opinion, the only one worth starting on this team is Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. As far as the Titans go, Will Levis, 192 yards for a touchdown and an interception. Not too well. Got sacked 4 times. He did have 4 rushes for 38 yards, which is good to see. So if he can limit his turnovers and if they can maybe find a way to get his passes, quicker, I think he has a potential to be a good fantasy starter for your fantasy team. Tony Pollard had a really nice game again. 17 for 62. He had 5 catches for 40 yards. Didn't score this week, but still really good day. Calvin Ridley had a nice game. 4 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. So, in my opinion, Pollard and Ridley are the only ones you can start on this team right now. DeAndre Hopkins not really involved. Tyler Boyd is underperforming. The tight end, Okonkwo, is just 3 for 16. So, nothing really there as far as they go. Next is the Bucks and Lions. Pretty damn good game for the Bucks defense. They held the Lions to only 16 points. Jared Goff didn't have a very good game. He did have 300 yards passing, but he had 2 interceptions and no touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown finally stepped up this week. Compared to last week, he had 11 receptions for 119 yards. Which is just about 23 points in my league if you guys do full point PPR leagues. Jameson Williams had a nice day too. He had 5 catches for 79 yards. And Jahmyr Gibbs, 84 yards rushing and 7 catches for 22 yards. So that's close to the 20-point range in my league. David Montgomery did have 35 yards rushing only, but he did have that touchdown in case you guys started him to kind of try and save his day. He also had 4 catches for 35 yards. Laporta, another off week for him. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they're not getting him involved as much as they did last year. Maybe it's just a slow start. In my mind, you got to keep starting him because I know you drafted him in the 2nd or 3rd round. But as far as the Lions go, St. Brown, Bolt, you got to start everybody pretty much except Goff. St. Brown, Williams, Gibbs, Montgomery, Laporta, they're all worth starting. As far as the Bucks go, Baker Mayfield had an all-right day, 185 yards passing, 1 TD, 1 interception. Nothing too crazy, but Chris Godwin, he was the one who stood out most as on this team. He had 7 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown. Mike Evans, average day, 3 catches for 42 yards. The one that's concerning is Rachaad White. I really thought he was going to take off this year. He had an all right week last week, but this kid Bucky Irving seems to keep taking away a lot of carries from him. He had 7 for 22, and Rachaad White only had 10 for 18. So wasn't a very good day for either of them rushing. But their defense really stepped up and got them the win. So, in my mind, you definitely got to start Godwin and Evans. But Rachaad White, keep an eye on him. Like, he might be worth a flex. He might have to go to your bench. So keep an eye on that situation. On to the Rams and Cardinals. Horrible day for the Rams. Really nothing good came from their team. Stafford had 216 yards passing, no touchdowns. Kyren Williams only 25 yards rushing. He had 4 catches for 27 yards. Just nothing really jumps out at you. Cooper Kupp got injured. He had 4 catches for 37 yards. Robinson 2 for 50. Atwell 3 for 4. Just nothing stood out for the Rams. It was just a bad day for them. But moving forward, I know Kupp is out. Puka's out. So you're going to have to look for Demarcus Robinson, and I believe his name is Tyler Johnson on the waiver wire. So give Atwell a look. They're more like, flip a coin, decide what you want to do. But I think Demarcus Robinson might be the one with more potential to take over the Rams receiving core for the next, I guess, 3 to 4 weeks until Puka and Kupp come back. I'm going to keep starting Kyren Williams. He was my second round draft pick, so I just think he has potential to do well moving forward. On to the Cardinals. They had a massive day. Finally, Marvin Harrison Jr. Showed up, or got the opportunity to show up. Kyler had 2 deep passes to him, I believe it was, two touchdowns. But overall, he had 4 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Trey McBride, nice game, had 6 catches for 67 yards and stole that touchdown. I think it was Connor who fumbled and then he recovered, so he had a nice day. Connor also had a nice day, 122 yards rushing with a TD and only 1 catch for 2 yards. But overall, nice day for Murray, 266, 3 touchdowns. Murray also had 5 carries for 59 yards. So they're must starts. Murray, Connor, Marvin Harrison, and Trey McBride are must starts every week. I thought Greg Dortch was going to have the opportunity to get more targets. Turns out I was wrong. Again, don't want to jump the gun too much, but I would still keep him on my bench if you do have him. Just kind of wait and see. I don't know if he's going to take over that second spot over Michael Wilson as far as the receivers go, but he could be the third option. I know it's going to be, Harrison and McBride are going to be up there, but just keep an eye on them. On to the Steelers and Broncos. Nothing really stood out too much from this game. Justin Fields, 117 yards, 1 touchdown. He did have 8 rushes for 27 yards. That's always nice when you can get a dual threat quarterback that can rush and get you some points. But he might not be worth starting right now. I would definitely keep him on my bench though. Najee Harris, only 69 yards rushing. Warren, 42 yards rushing. Again, nothing stood out. Freiermuth was the leading receiving target. He had 4 catches for 39 yards. Pickens underperformed, 2 for 29. Just not a very good day, even though, their defense keeps getting them the wins. But, hey, they're doing what they got to do to win. As far as the Broncos go, not a very good game for anybody on that team. Bo Nix had 246 yards passing, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Not a good day rushing the ball. Javonte Williams only had 17 yards. He did have 5 catches for 48 yards, so that kind of salvaged his week if you are an owner of his. Keep an eye on him. I don't know if he's going to be worth a flex, or he might end up getting moved to the bench because this team is not very good at the moment. McLaughlin didn't even show up. 3 for 6 yards rushing. Josh Reynolds did have 4 catches for 93 yards, so there might be potential there. I don't know what's going on with Cortland Sutton. He only had 1 catch for 26 yards. And Dulcich is kind of my disappointment from this team. I really thought he was going to be more involved before the season started based off of what I saw last year, but he just hasn't, or they just haven't got him involved so far. So the only one worth starting for me on this team is Javonte Williams, and maybe keep an eye on Josh Reynolds if he keeps getting more targets, more completions. So Moving on to the Bengals and Chiefs. And I really thought the Bengals were going to pull that one out, but a last-second pass interference call against them really cost them. Chiefs lined up and kicked a game-winning field goal. So, but Joe Burrow looked pretty good. He had 258 yards with 2 touchdowns. He did have that fumble that really cost them. They were up 5 at the time with the ball. So I just think he's going to get better once T. Higgins comes back. And I don't know if it's the Chiefs that don't do well covering tight ends, because Isaiah Likely killed it last week, and Mike Gesicki had a pretty damn good game this week. 7 catches for 91 yards. Their backup tight end also had 3 for 28, so that's 10 catches for almost 120 yards. Gesicki is definitely going to be somebody I'm looking forward in the waiver wire to pick up. Jamar Chase had an off day, 4 for 35. And Zach Moss didn't really do anything either. 34 yards rushing and 1 catch for 13 yards. So the only ones, in my opinion, we're starting this week are obviously Chase and Burrow. I'm probably going to pick up Gesicki and start him. Moving on to the Chiefs. Pat Mahomes didn't have a very good game. 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. That Bengals guy had a crazy one-handed interception. But yeah, not your normal Pat Mahomes day. Only 18 for 25. Pacheco had a nice game, 19 carries for 90 yards. Unfortunately, you're going to have to look for another running back, because he's going to be out for at least the next, I think they said 6 to 8 weeks. So that's almost, 2 months. Rashee Rice, always a must start every week. 5 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown. Other than that, they didn't do very, Kelsey, another bad week. 1 catch for 5 yards. Pacheco did have 5 for 21. So, I don't know. They might get their other running backs involved. I don't know who's going to take the lead as far as pass game goes. I know they have Pirine, and then they have that new guy, Steele. I think he's a rookie. And then they just brought in Kareem Hunt. I don't think he's going to make it in time for this week. But I would stay away from the running back position for now and just see who kind of takes the lead this week. So must start Pat. I mean, you still got to keep starting Kelsey. You drafted him in the 2nd round, maybe 3rd round, and also Rashee Rice. But other than that, Xavier Worthy, no show this week. And Hollywood Brown, they just said that he's going to be out for the regular season, so he's done for the fantasy season. On to the Sunday night game, Bears and Texans. Man, it was tough watching Caleb Williams struggle all night. He got sacked 7 times, only threw for 174 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. He did have 5 carries for 44 yards, which is nice to see if you started him. But he's, in my opinion, not worth starting right now. He is definitely worth a bench stash. Just the whole Bears team didn't have a really good day. Their defense stepped up, though. I really thought they held the Texans nicely. But you could only hold them for so long because your offense wasn't really producing much. Swift only had 18 yards rushing. He did have 4 catches for 24 yards, but it just wasn't good enough as if you had Swift on your team. DJ Moore had 6 catches for 53 yards. He looked like he was getting frustrated. I don't know if it's with the quarterback or with the play calling or maybe even with the O-line not blocking well enough. Rome Odunze had 33 yards. Komet 4 for 27. And that's pretty much it. So moving forward, the only ones we're starting, in my opinion, DJ Moore, and I think I would still start DeAndre Swift. Give him another week. See how that offensive line does. Maybe the offensive coordinator will switch it up. Maybe the coach will step in. I don't know. But as far as the Texans go, CJ Stroud had a pretty good game. 260 yards for 1 touchdown. Nico Collins killed it again. 8 catches, 135 yards, and a TD. He's a must start every week. Tank Dell is disappointing me the first 2 weeks. He's on my team. Didn't do anything receiving. Had 3 carries for 16 yards. Just almost non-existent. Stephon Diggs had a pretty average game. 4 catches for 37 yards. Joe Mixon had a nice day. Well, he had an average day. Didn't score. Yeah, no, Nico Collins was the only one who scored. So, unfortunately, Mixon did get hurt. I hope it's not anything long term. He might be out a week. He was one of my running backs that I was hoping that I could draft this year. He had 25 yards rushing. He had 25 yards receiving on 3 catches. So if he's playing, I would start him every week. Him, Diggs, Nico Collins, and CJ Stroud are the must starts on that team. Dalton Schultz, 2 for 21. The tight end position isn't there right now. I don't even know if I'm going to start Tank Dell moving forward. He's my only. I have Tyreek Hill, him, and a bunch of nobodies on as my third wide receiver. I have Jacoby Myers, Adam Thielen, Greg Dortch. I need help right now. It's not looking good. I might stay away from Tank Dell, and if you don't have any other options, unfortunately I don't at the moment. I have to start him, so I hope they really get him more involved in the passing game, but we'll see what happens. And the last game, Monday Night Football, I can't believe the Eagles blew it. I really thought they should have ran the ball to kill 40 seconds, even if they didn't get the first down, and then kick the field goal, but they didn't. Saquon dropped it. It was unfortunate. Still a decent play call. We wouldn't be saying any of this if he did catch the ball, but anyway, Kirk Cousins had an all right day. That last drive really saved him. He had 241 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. Bijan looked nice. He had 97 yards rushing. He also had 25 yards receiving on 4 catches. Drake London, that last drive saved his fantasy week. He had 6 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown. Darnell Mooney had that one nice deep play. He had 3 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. I was kind of skeptical. I really thought before the season started that he was one of my sleepers, but I didn't put him on my fantasy bench, I didn't put him on my bench because I just thought it was too early. I kind of wanted to wait and see, but somebody picked him up. Some other guy picked him up this week and actually started him because A.J. Brown was out, and turned out it was a good play for him. Got 3 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown, so that's pretty damn good. That's almost 20 points in my league, so I regret not getting him. Algier had a pretty nice game, 9 for 53. He's on my bench, so I'm kind of hoping that maybe Bijan will get hurt. I know Bijan owners don't want to hear that, but I'm just saying I need all the help I can get right now. He also had 1 catch for 12 yards. Pitts, I wish they would get him more involved. 3 catches for 20 yards, but I don't know what's going on there. And Ray, is that his name? Ray? Yeah, Ray McLeod. He's kind of intriguing. He seems to get decent targets every week. So I don't know. It's a toss-up between him and Mooney right now. Like, who's going to take over that second spot at the receiver position. So keep an eye on him. They might be Mooney and McLeod might be worth starting in your flex moving forward. But other than that, I would start Bijan and Drake London with confidence. And if you don't have any other options at tight end, which most of us don't right now, I guess you're just going to have to keep starting Pitts. As far as the Eagles go, Jalen Hurts, not a very good game. 183 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Barkley did have a good game aside from that drop at the end of the game. He had 95 yards rushing, and he did have 4 catches for 21 yards. Devontae Smith, another good game, 7 for 76 and a touchdown. He's a must start every week, especially with A.J. Brown out. Him, Saquon, Hurts, you got to start them all. Again, the tight end position, Dallas Goedert, 3 for 38. If you're just don't have any other options, I mean, what can you do at this point? You just got to keep starting these guys. They're on good teams. They got good quarterbacks. Maybe they'll just blow up one week. Just cross your fingers and hope. Other than that, that's pretty much it. At the end of the day, I lost my fantasy week. I'll post a screenshot right here of it. I had a terrible week. I only scored like 82 points or something like that. I don't know what the hell happened. My opponent only had 117, so I thought I had, or about 117, something like that. But I thought I had a great chance to beat him, and my guys just didn't perform. So it is what it is. I need help badly, and I'm going to have to do some homework and see if I can find a gem off of the waiver wire, especially at the tight end position. And I can't wait until Chubb and Hawkinson come back. So I just hope and pray that I can get a win this week. I'm 0-2. It's not looking good right now. Somebody save me. And go Bills.